Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Scott Dillon here from the SAP Cloud Platform Center of Excellence. And welcome to yet another session of In the Garage. I find myself today in Las Vegas attending SAP Tech Ed, the amazing conference that we have here. So I had to take a couple of hours out. And today, the topic in the garage is conversational AI and chatbots. And so, of course, for those of you that are new to the Garage series, the format is pretty straightforward. We try to do very little PowerPoint marketing type stuff, and we really want to get in and show people how to use the services that are on Cloud Platform, a little bit of a jump start. So today, of course, I have myself, I'm here, and as the way the format works is I always bring somebody that's really well versed in the topic. So today we have Sai Mutakapali. He is a solution manager in this team. Sai, what do you do for SAP?
So I work on intelligent technology, in particular conversational AI, and help customers integrate conversational AI into their architecture.
Awesome. So this is great to have him here because he's an expert in this topic, and I surely am not. So he's going to teach me today how to build a basic chatbot and walk us through and how you do that on top of SAP Cloud Platforms. That's amazing. And then behind the scenes, we've got another one of Sai's colleagues, Ed Frank. He's going to be manning the Q&A pod. So just for people, again, if you're here for the first time, there's a dedicated question and answer pod. We ask that you put your questions in there as opposed to the group chat. Group chat's good to say, hi, where you're from, all that kind of stuff. But if you have an actual question, we can then answer it, and we can keep a tab on those. And then if there's any unanswered questions at the end, we can send it out in an email. So it was of course, the format is we try to be as consistent as possible. We like to get an idea who's here. So you'll see an interactive survey. We usually leave this up here for maybe 20 or 30 seconds just to kind of get some feedback in terms of it's your first time here, if you're a repeat customer, which is always nice. We get some familiar names I see in the attendee list for sure, which is amazing. But we only don't let that go very long. And then we're going to move on to the results of that just to kind of get an idea. So wow, 100%. That's interesting. 100% new attendees, which is amazing because I know there's people in that list that I've seen before. But anyway, it's all good. And then here's the most important one for us for today. Just give us an idea if you've ever used conversational AI from SAP before, just so we have an idea as we're going through the presentation. Is this like your first introduction? I've been only looking at it for about the past week, so I've learned a lot for sure with Sai's help over the last few days. Just give us an idea. Have you ever seen it, ever used it? This is the first time you hear the term CAI, just so we can tailor the conversation a little bit. Another 5 seconds, and we're moving on to see the results of that. So Sai can have some idea who he's dealing with. So have you ever used conversational AI? So Sai, 90% of the people have never used conversational AI. So this is awesome. So we can bring everybody up today one level of knowledge for sure, just like they're at the same starting point that I was about a week ago, which is great. Okay, so just a quick reminder, we have 2 more sessions left for this year. We'll do a different, kind of a different approach in our next session on October 23rd. So Gunther Rothermel is the SVP for Cloud Platform Development globally. So he runs our dev organization. He knows all things Cloud Platform, that's for sure. So we're going to do a bit of a different format, a one-on-one interview, myself and him. If anybody has any questions on the phone for anything Cloud Platform related, send me that in an email, tweet it over to me, and then we'll stockpile some good questions for him on the 23rd. But the idea is to review and recap a lot of the announcements that are being made here at TechEd this week. So if you didn't have a chance to go to TechEd, you can join that call and kind of get a summary in the course of 45 minutes. And then the last session that we'll do for this year, which is a pretty exciting one, and you can tell that because there's a lot of sessions being delivered this week on something called CAP, which is the short name for SAP Cloud Platform Application Programming Model, which is our new prescriptive way for people to build applications and extensions on Cloud Platform using either Java or Node.js. So we're going to run through that with one of the folks from the dev team there as well. That should also be another exciting session. However, that's coming up. Let's get into the topic of today. So, Sai, I'm going to bring up your first slide. Sai's going to give us a 7-10 minute introduction to the topic, the strategy, a short demo, and then we'll get into me building something with his help. Sai, over to you.
All right, thank you, Scott. So to start, let's figure out what our solution does, right? So conversational AI is a solution that's used to build, train, connect, and monitor artificial intelligence chatbots. It's as simple as that. Now, to get a better understanding of it, let's run into a demo. Let's run through a little demo to get a better understanding of how it's used and how it provides and what kind of solution it is. So I'll share my screen and we'll get started in a minute. So let me know once you guys can see intelligent asset management.
Somebody in the, it's slowly coming up for me, but if someone that's attending can just put a quick note in the group chat to say, yeah, we see it, that'd be amazing. We just assume that because I can see it, but not always the attendees can see it. But I can see it just fine. I'm assuming that the attendees can see it as well. So let's continue on as if they can see it. Yep, they can see it. Got one confirmation in the chat window. Perfect.
Perfect. So let's consider a scenario where we have a giant manufacturing plant, and essentially we have our SAP Intelligent Asset Management solution right here. And once it loads. So as you can see, it's a pretty rich and complex interface with a ton of different buttons and a ton of different things to do. Now, this software is used to monitor all the different moving parts in the manufacturing plant and keep track of everything. So let's consider a scenario where we have a new hire called Kathy. And one of her roles is to basically find new models of equipment within the manufacturing plant and upload that into the asset and have everything in our asset management application. So the thing about, so let's consider that she just joined and she has no idea how to use this application. So to help her out, we've basically created a chatbot assistant so that she can do her job with a little bit more ease. So let's say that she has to find out how many models she has, right? So instead of having to go through this entire application, she can just go into the chatbot assistant and search how many models do I have. Now, as you can see, there's a total of 126 models, but it returned the top 10 recently created models and lists them out. Now, let's say I want to create a new model. So I can ask the assistant to create a new model. Now, there's two templates in which the model can be created in. So we have to pick between pump or turbine. So let's say that we're having a pump template. So we click on pump, and then it asks us what we want to name our model. So you can say something. Model name is Garage Series Pump. And in the back end, it's basically creating the model. So the model's created, and it's under the name of Garage Series Pump, and it's asking, do you want to publish it? So we say yes. And once we've published the model, it will ask us if we want to make an announcement. And for that, we're going to say no. But the cool thing about it is that you can instantly go and check the actual software. You can go into the models here, and when you do, you will actually see the model that we just created. So once this loads. So as you can see, the first entry that we have right here is Garage Series Pump. So she didn't have to even touch this application, and without having to go through it at all, she was able to create her model and put it into the application. Now, keeping that in mind, I'd like to go back into our presentation now. And I'd like to give you a small example of how conversational AI can help your business, right? So consider a situation where you go to a store, right? And you buy a car or you buy a computer. You can walk out of that store and drive home in your car that you just bought, or you can go home and plug that computer into the wall and basically start using it as soon as you get it, right? So essentially, you have immediate return on investment. Now, consider a scenario where you hire a new employee. It could take months before you actually get value from this person, depending on his role and his responsibilities. But this is where conversational AI can really make a difference. Our solution will basically simplify the lives of your employees. And as you can see with Kathy's example, she was able to create models without even having to navigate that rich, complex landscape of the asset management software. So when you're able to simplify and make the life of your employee easy, they're able to do their job more efficiently. So it's a win-win situation. You are making their lives easy so they're happier, and at the same time, your business is running more efficiently because they're able to do their business processes better. So with that, I'd like to move on to an example of a large corporation that recently decided to adopt conversational AI for the sole purpose of helping their employees. They have over 2,000 different brands all over the world, and I can't disclose the name for confidentiality reasons, but they decided to integrate SAP Cloud Platform and SAP Conversational AI into their architecture so that their employees can navigate that complex IT landscape and help their employees complete their business processes with ease and essentially run better. Now, there's another side to why you should consider conversational AI. Now, and that is the technology perspective. If we think about how we've progressed in terms of how we communicate with machines, we've started all the way back from punch cards when we first invented computers, but as we've gone, as we move forward in time, we've gotten better and better with communicating with machines. We've invented a graphical user interface, and then we've moved on to touch. And I think the natural progression, conversational AI, is the simplest way for a person to communicate with a machine, because there is no simpler way for a person. There's no better way that a person communicates other than the language that he is grown speaking. So in my opinion, I think a conversational AI is the natural progression to user interface. And essentially, if not today, down the line, we will be able to talk to a computer the way we talk to another person. And that will essentially make getting information from machines and getting things done a lot easier than it is today. Now, along with being able to communicate with a computer, it'd be nice if we can automate small tasks so that we don't have to waste our daily time on repetitive tasks. And the best part about conversational AI is that since it's a user interface technology, it can be integrated with almost any other technology out there, especially the intelligent technology portfolio in SAP. So if we combine conversational AI with, for example, intelligent robotic process automation, we can use conversational AI as a front-end tool to communicate with the user and understand what he needs, and then be able to perform these repetitive tasks and automate these repetitive tasks behind the scenes. So not only are you helping your employees communicate with the machine a lot simpler, but you're also automating a bunch of their tasks so they have more time to spend on helping your company grow and become a better place to work. Now, with that, I'd like to hand it over back to Scott. Thank you very much.
Hey, nice job. Nice job, Sai. I think that's a really good introduction to where people could use conversational AI. And so what I wanted to do now, I don't normally do this, but I found over the past week, maybe just a quick summary of some of the terminology that I've learned from you. So I want to go through each one of these with you, just so people have kind of when we start talking about these words and these acronyms as part of the build out of the bot, I'll kind of have some idea before we get there. So number one, what's a skill, Sai?
So a skill is essentially it's bot logic. So it's essentially what the bot needs to do when you ask it to do something. So essentially, it's the brain of the bot.
Okay.
It makes a lot more sense if we talk about the intent first. So,
okay. What's an
if we could
intent?
just skip to that question. Yeah, perfect. The intent is basically the intent of the user. Technically speaking, it's a set of expressions that mean the same thing. But if just so that you can understand it in a simpler term, the intent is basically what the user wants from your chatbot. So if a user wants to order food from using your chatbot, his intent would be to order food, right? And then tying that to skill, your chatbot's ability to go and order food, that is the skill, and that is what you have to program. And the intent there would be conversational AI understanding that the user is looking for food.
Gotcha. So you referenced something that was towards the end, so I'll bring it up now. So what is an expression? And so you kind of referenced it already. So in the demonstration that we're going to try to do today, one thing we wanted to show people that's extremely important for me is the ability for conversational AI to interact with SAP and non-SAP services. Because this is a common architectural thread that goes through a lot of the Garage series where we did, as an example, mobile, and we want a mobile to talk to a backend SAP system, right? We do a UI5, we do Portal, we want it to talk to an SAP backend system. So today it's not really that different in the sense that the channel will be conversational AI, and we want it to talk to an SAP backend to bring back some invoices. So in that particular case, the orders is what we're going to be retrieving, and then the expression is when you type in something like, what are my orders? Or you just type in orders or show me my orders. These are flavors of expressions that then have to map somehow and be basically directed to this intent, right? Which is the intent is give me my orders, basically.
Yeah. So that's where the artificial intelligence comes in. Mapping those expressions to an intent is basically the intelligent part of this solution.
Okay, cool. And then we've got here the difference between, okay, we've got that one. So the difference between chatbots, CAI, and IRPA. Can you talk about that for 30 seconds? Because to me, that was a big kind of gap in my knowledge before we started chatting.
Yeah, so conversational AI, again, as I mentioned earlier, is more of a front-end tool. This is what we use to communicate with the user and find out what he wants. And IRPA is more of a back-end tool where you create bots that actually do simple, monotonous tasks. So you can create a IRPA bot that, let's say, sends you an email every day in the morning telling you good morning. So that's something you could do with IRPA. Whereas a conversational AI chatbot is what you saw in my demo earlier, where it's an actual chatbot that you talk to and you tell it what you want and it understands what you want. So the way that these two fit together is more of the conversational AI being the front-end user tool where it understands what it wants, and then IRPA being the back-end tool that executes tasks that need to be done. And technically, you could pair them together.
Okay, cool. So I guess it's clear to me then in 2020, I need to do a session on IRPA to kind of break that open as well. Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's move over just to some the design environment, which we have here. So just to show people quickly, so we mentioned a couple of things on that previous screen around intents and what they are. So you can see some intents listed as part of the design environment down below. We've got like laughs, joke, goodbye, greetings, things like that. And then, but we have these 5 stages, which I wanted to kind of highlight to people: training the bot, building the bot, coding, connecting, and monitoring. So we're going to go through 2 or 3 of these today. We don't have to use all 5, but they are there across the top, and you'll see us drive into those tabs when we go to build it out. And then the last thing we wanted to show here was on the expression. So you can see down below, like you're basically adding some expressions in, or reusing expressions that someone else has already created as part of a reusable intent. But you've got good afternoon, hello, good afternoon. And so you populate these with a set number, and then from there, the technology starts to learn a bit and starts to interpret things and stuff like that. But anyway, so that's what you're going to see, and then a quick architectural diagram just to kind of put things in perspective for people. So we got the chatbot, the conversational AI. And in this case, as everybody knows, or many people might know, we do have a system on the internet called SAP ES5, which is basically hosting SAP transactions. And we've taken one of the services that's in there, and we've done a little bit of formatting on it, because when the chatbot is making a call through a webhook to ES5, it expects it to be in a certain format. So in this particular case, we've used a Node.js, a little piece of Node.js code, which we could share after, but it's there. We're not going to walk through that today, but it's a little bit of formatting just to get it back in the right format. But rest assured, we are calling ES5 and we're bringing back things in real time with the chatbot, which is pretty cool. And then one of the big roadmap announcements for us is to make that process so that you wouldn't potentially need the formatter. It would just call out and we would do the formatting behind the scenes, but that's future. All right, so Sai, this is the part where I get to kind of touch the keyboard, and you are going to walk me through the creation of a chatbot. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to pop over to Google, and as always, we try to take people right through from start to finish, where to find the service, how to configure the service, and stuff like that. All right, so I'm in Google. How do I get access to the conversational AI software if somebody on the phone wanted to, kind of start where I'm starting and go through the process?
Yep. So yeah, let's start by searching for SAP's conversational AI.
All right. We got a couple of options here.
Tools.cai.tools.
Perfect. We'll pop in here. And for those of you that have not signed up, there's a little sign up box on the top right hand side. I will just click on log in because I've already signed up in a little bit of preparation that we did prior to today. See if I can type here. All right, so I've logged in. I see my username, and I get prompted with, hey, create your first bot, start with a template. So what are we looking at here?
So yeah, it's as simple as that. Just click on start with a template, and you'll be able to create your first bot.
It's rare that things are that simple, but let's do that. Let's start with a template. All right, so we've got, we get prompted now for some information, assumingly, and the first thing that we get off the top is, select your predefined skills. So what does this mean, select predefined skills? And we've got 5 of them listed, but what's the notion behind this?
So essentially, as we talked about skills earlier too, these are basically, they're literally skills that you can give your bot that are predefined. So like if you give your bot the greeting skill, it's already been programmed so that your bot will be able to basically greet a user without you having to do any work whatsoever. It's all predefined. The intents are there. The skills are there. So this is kind of like basic stuff that most bots have. So it just allows you to put that into your bot without any work.
Okay, that's great. And so then we've got, so I guess what I hear when you talk about that, the thing that comes to my mind is that if you're in a big organization and you started to adopt conversational AI as a channel, as you said, very easy to use into some of your back-end functions, different teams could then start pumping out these reusable skills so that, the first chatbot takes you X amount of days or minutes. The second one would obviously be, that minus whatever time it takes to build the greeting and whatever time it takes to do the small talk. So you could start reusing these pieces, right? So
Exactly.
I'll select greetings and small talk, and then I guess we'll give it a name here. Garage bot sounds pretty decent. A bot for the most amazing webinar series ever. Self-promotion is always good, ever. And topics. What exactly is a topic?
So essentially, it lets you pick industries. And what this does is that it helps conversational AI make better associations. So it understands your intents better because it'll know what industry you're related to. So you can just pick
Okay.
a few topics and it'll do the rest.
All right, so let's pick a couple here. Information technology, IT support, perfect. We'll do that. And then we've got something here called data policy. We've got 4 categories: non-personal, personal, sensitive, personal, and health. What's this about?
So in order to make sure that we're complying with all data regulations, we have to specify what kind of data the bot is taking in. Non-personal data is essentially data that isn't specific to a person. It's kind of just normal data, like food data or something like that. And the data retention period is unlimited, so it's going to stay in the bot forever. Whereas personal data is more associated to a individual, and that has a data retention period of 3 years. Sensitive personal information could be like phone numbers or date of birth or social security, stuff like that. And that has a retention period of 1 year. And then health information, we're currently not allowed to process that information and retain it because of data regulation standards. But hopefully in the future, we will be able to also provide for health.
Okay. So it sounds like you and I today will do something simple. That's definitely not going to be personal. So I'll leave it as non-personal. And then what is this other category here with the non-vulnerable and the vulnerable?
It's if the user base is young, then they're considered vulnerable, and if they're adults, then it's non-vulnerable.
Okay, so let's select non-vulnerable here. And then we've got a bot visibility, public and private. What's that?
So conversational AI kind of lets you build off other people's work. So if you put it to public, then other people can build off of your work. Whereas if you put it to private, then only your organization will be able to build off of your work.
I see. Okay, gotcha. Okay, we'll keep that as private. I don't want anybody using this amazing bot we're about to build. So, maybe worth some money, right? Okay, so let's do a create your bot. Just going to do some things in the background here. Like I say, if anybody, just while this is generating what it needs to generate, if anybody has any questions, make sure you flag those in the Q&A. And Mr. Edward will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm just going to hit refresh here on that. Okay, so basically it's done some stuff, and we give a quick preview of the screen already. But what are we looking at here? Like right away, Sai, I see this @ symbol, with a bunch of stuff. Like one of the things I noticed when I was getting used to the tooling this week is that we've got intents, we've got entities, and we can talk about what an entity is in a sec. We've got intents and entities, but the intents, these are coming in as a result of us picking the greetings and the small talk skill, right? Is that accurate?
Exactly. So all this work has been done for you because you picked that predefined skill. And that's the great thing about conversational AI. It just kind of helps you jump right into what you need to do without having to do all the grunt work.
That's perfect. And when I click on this, like I click on ask joke, I can then see this quote unquote expression. So this one's got, I don't know, a good number of expressions already embedded into it. And these are already, like I say, pre-loaded and as part of that intent. But one thing I do want to highlight to people here is that we have this color-coded entities. Can you just take a quick second to explain what an entity is? Because we've got intents, we've got entities, and you can see here we've got a bunch of entities that are color-coded.
Yeah, so the entities that you see on that screen are essentially called golden entities, and entities are basically key pieces of information within your expression. So if you said something like, I want pizza, then pizza would be your key entity because that's like the main piece of information in that sentence. So the thing about conversational AI is that it can recognize a slew of different entities on its own without you having to do anything, such as location, names, date and time. It'll automatically recognize that within a sentence. And if you look right here, it recognizes that you is a pronoun and it labels it as a pronoun.
Right.
And you can use these entities for your skill building and your bot logic later on.
Right, gotcha. That's pretty important. So I just want to distinguish one thing that you said, which I think it was important to me when you mentioned it. This notion of a golden entity, because you can create custom entities, which we will do today, I believe. But as well, you have these golden entities that SAP brings to the table that are already predefined and kind of match up with certain things. But then, of course, if you're building something custom, it's likely you will need to create some custom entities as well, right?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go back. I'll just click back on GarageBot here to bring us back to the beginning. So where do we start? And so the goal today, just to recap, is to have this chatbot interact with us a little bit. So we've already brought in some stuff on the greetings and the small talk, and then we want to have the chatbot interact with us by name. So, hello, Scott, how are you? Make it feel a little bit more personal. And then after that, we want to hook it up and have it call something in the back, right?
Exactly.
All right, perfect.
Perfect. So let's create our entities that we're going to need today. I mean, not intents that we're going to need today. So as we said, we're going to be getting some open orders. So let's search. So if someone's already built an intent that you can use, then you can just search for it. So for example, we're looking for open orders, so we can just search for open orders and check if someone in the community has already made that intent.
All right, let's do that as a starting point. All right, so we've got Paul Hayes, demo bot, ask open orders. We've got a few here, but we're just going to pick this first one, right?
Yeah, if you look right underneath it, you can see the expressions, and that matches what we need. So we can basically steal that and put it into our own bot by forking it.
Gotcha. So this word steal is interesting. So let's just recap what that means. So when I steal this intent that's already out there and I hit the fork, basically what that means is that now we're going to take something and be able to add to it within the context of our chatbot without modifying the chatbot built by Paul Hayes, right?
Exactly. I think steal is a bad word. You're copying more.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Their version stays exactly the same. You are basically have a copy now, and you can modify that.
Awesome. And so you can see it's been brought in here, and it's got 4 expressions, but we are able to add to that, right, with an additional expression.
Exactly. So we can throw a few more in there so that it better understands what the user wants. Okay.
Any suggestions here? What I should put in? We've already got, looks like open orders, open an order, open maybe just in terms of syntax, open my orders.
Yeah. Or my open orders question mark and
my open orders.
Or can I see my open orders?
Can I see my open orders? Okay, so as I'm typing, I'm noticing here something as well, that it's prompting me with some suggestions. What is this about?
So essentially, this is the conversational AI enriching your intent. And by that, if you can click on it, it'll give you suggested expressions that you can load your intent with so that it better understands what the user is trying to say. This is basically to make your life a little easier. Instead of typing out all these expressions, you can kind of just click whichever ones fit, and it'll just go into your intent.
So I can say my open order, add.
Yeah. So in like a dev environment, you're supposed to have about like 100 expressions. So it's a lot easier when you have this tool that kind of gives you expressions that you can just add into your intent.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's cool. And I noticed too, as we were kind of talking, we're adding things in, and it's kind of dynamically changing on the screen. It started off at 4, then I went to 8, then I went to 12. So that's pretty neat as it works behind the scenes to do that. Okay, and so then when I click on one of these, like my open order, I have also noticed this week that sometimes it automatically flags the entity that's in question. So in this case, it's got, there's an order entity, and you have an order here, and it's color-coded, so it's underlined in green. We got the pronoun, the entity that's been flagged in green as well.
Yeah, so in this case, the custom entity order has been created by the other person where we forked it from, so that was kind of like something that was done for us. Essentially, if we just highlight any of these words, we can label our entities ourselves, but once it picks up on a pattern, it will start doing it by itself.
I see. So when I click here, and then I have the ability to tag other things should I wish to do so.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so where do we go from here? So I've got basically, that's a good point that you just raised. I'll just go back here for 1 second. So in that particular case, when I imported ask open orders, it looks like it generated this custom entity for us, and we didn't have to do that, right?
Exactly. And we can go into that custom entity, and you can see all the, if we go down, you can see all the expressions that are related to this.
I see.
And
okay, gotcha.
since open orders is also a synonym to order, we can actually add that as a synonym value right up here, just the word open space order.
Open order or orders? You want it single or plural?
Orders is fine. It can be plural.
Okay. Open orders, just like that.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Now, so with that, we're pretty much done with the intent building. We can move on to our actual skill building. So the skill building is done in the build tab.
Okay.
Perfect. So as you can see, small talk and greetings are the skills that were predefined that we decided to integrate into our chatbot. But now we're going to need 2 more skills in order to get our functionality that we need. So let's first create a skill called get name.
Okay, I'll take that one. Let's drag it down here so we can see it. And
then,
do you want to create another skill?
Yeah, one more skill called get orders, get dash orders.
Lowercase, uppercase, does it matter?
Lowercase, yeah, it matters. The name matters.
Okay, get orders, get dash orders. Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yep, get dash orders, perfect. So now let's go into our greetings tab, our greetings skill, and we're going to basically now modify this greetings skill so that it will ask us for our name, and then it will store that name in the memory so that next time it talks, it will refer to you by your name. So that's going to be our first.
Okay.
So let's go into our actions. And again, just a quick summary of what these 3 things are. Triggers are essentially what will trigger the skill. So it'll be easier to explain as we go through. So actions is essentially what that skill should do when it gets called, if that makes any sense.
Right. Gotcha.
So
we can see here there's an if at greetings. So if the conversational AI determines that we're talking about or in a situation where someone it's identified a greeting, then the question is, how are we going to respond to that, right?
Yeah, so essentially we'd start a conversation off with hello, right? And hello is considered a greeting. So as soon as it sees hello, it understands that the intent there is greetings. And once it notices the intent is greetings, this skill is going to be triggered. And now we tell it what to do once the skill is triggered.
Right, got it.
So now at the end of this greetings section, we're going to add a new message.
Send message here.
Yep, perfect.
Okay. And it looks like we have multiple kinds of messages that we could send to the user.
Exactly. So we're going to stick with text for now.
Okay.
And we're going to say, what is your name?
Okay, fair enough.
So we hit save, and now we can move on to our next step. So before we play with the memory, it's always good to clean the memory first. So we're going to update conversation, edit memory, and reset all memory.
Okay.
And we'll hit save.
Perfect.
And now we're going to redirect this skill to the get name skill so that it can take in the name and then it will respond to you with your name. So we'll hit update conversation and we'll say go to, and we'll select this skill get name.
Okay.
Perfect. And instead of starting the skill immediately, we're going to wait for the user input. So essentially, once the user enters his name, the get name skill is going to be activated, and it's going to go into the natural flow. So we hit save there.
Okay.
Perfect. And now we can directly go into the get name skill right here, just by clicking on get name.
All right.
Perfect.
Now we've jumped over into our other skill, the one that we created from scratch.
Exactly.
All right.
Now, let's go into our trigger. And essentially here, we're going to say that if a person is detected, then this skill needs to get activated. So a person is an entity here. And basically, conversational AI will be able to detect names, and it labels them as a person. So every time it'll detect a name, it's going to activate this skill. So we can basically write hashtag person and save.
Okay. If a person, save. All right. So if a person is present, that's our trigger to activate the get name skill. Got it.
Exactly. Now we're going to play around with a little bit of the memory. So we're going to go into requirements.
Okay.
And essentially here, we're going to save this person as under a variable name of username. So hashtag person.
Okay.
As just username. So from now on in conversational AI, the person's name is going to be stored under the variable username, so you can call it later. And you should be able to see the script as soon as that saves.
I don't know where there's. I don't see any. I don't see any.
Yeah. Could you try
save
refreshing
button?
your page? It should auto save. You never need to save on this platform.
Okay, let's see. Because yeah, I seem to recall that section there usually gets updated. Triggers, if person, requirements. Oh, see, it didn't save it. I don't think.
Yeah, it didn't save.
Huh. It was person.
Yep.
And it was username, right?
Username.
There you go. Maybe I didn't push enter. I don't know. It could have been a Scott Dillon thing. All right. So now it's interesting because now you see it like here, the JSON structure with the username, and then it kind of says, yeah, full name, Dave Peterson.
Okay. Exactly. So that's how it's stored in conversational AI. So now we can move on to the actions and make it so that it responds to us with our name.
Okay.
So we'll add a new message group.
Perfect.
And we'll send a message with text. And let's keep it simple. Let's just say hello, space. Now you're going to need to put 2 curly brackets.
Okay.
Memory. Dot username. Dot full name. And close the credit. It's perfect. And we hit save.
That's perfect. And for people that have been watching some of the other garage sessions with MDK and stuff like that, you'll notice a double the handlebar notation in use here. And basically what we're doing is we're accessing that memory structure in JSON format. So memory.username.fullname to pull that back as part of the response to the user. Okay, that's perfect. Now what?
So let's see if our bot is working so far. So let's give it a little test run before we move forward. We can chat with our bot right down there as you go. So let's just say hello.
Hello.
Perfect.
I see. Scott. Hello, Scott. Okay, perfect. So we can see that like right away. Great. Okay, nice work. It's pretty simple so far.
Yep.
Pretty easy.
Far, so good.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to retrieving those open orders that we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
So we're going to add another message group to this. So let's hit on send message.
Okay. Here.
Yep. And we're going to do some quick replies instead of text this time to make it easier.
Okay.
So let's ask what the user would like to do. So what would you like to see today? Perfect. So we can add, so you can add multiple quick replies. This basically, you can have like a selection pane, but we're only having one case here for open orders, so we're only going to use one. We can just write open orders here.
Okay.
And if you want to show another example, you can add another quick reply if you'd like.
Okay. Eat pizza. Cool.
Perfect.
Okay.
Now, for the quick reply value for open orders, we're going to write the same word just underneath.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Okay.
And we hit save.
All right. So this is essentially what the user will see when they get the prompt back from the bot, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Awesome.
So now let's go back into our build tab and build out our last skill that we need to make this work.
Okay.
So as you can see here, the greetings is connected to the get name. That's because you linked them. That's just for like a better, easier understanding of what skills are linked to what. Just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. That's good to know.
Now, if we click on get orders, we can, so the trigger for this should be whenever it detects that the user wants open orders. So we'll go into trigger, and we already have our intent built out called ask open orders. So we're going to basically say if it detects ask open orders, then this skill should be triggered.
Okay.
Hit save. And, yep, that's perfect. So
Okay.
now let's go into our actions. And we'll add a new message group.
Okay.
So this is where we're going to call a webhook. A webhook is basically used to call external APIs. And this is essentially the way that you would be able to connect to any backend systems or any public API on the internet. But one thing you have to remember is that the API needs to be formatted into a format that conversational AI can understand before it will be able to present you with that information. So let's click on call webhook.
Okay, so now I have to go get this, which I didn't copy down beforehand. So nobody make fun of the amount of emails that I've got here in my inbox. Well, I go grab the URL, which is here. So we're going to take that and we're going to put it right in here. So basically this, just to size point, just to recap. So this is basically the Node.js URL that's been exposed to us in order to let the formatting take place before being retrieved and sent over to the chatbot. All right. So what else I do here? Is that all I have to do, just like that?
That's all you have to do. Just hit save and we're good to go.
Sweet. All right.
Now let's run through our entire chat one more time and see if it works.
So clear this up here. Let's go through one time. Hi. John. My name is John for this test run. What would you like to do today? Open orders or eat pizza? Okay, well, let's try open orders. Let's take door number 1.
You're not fun.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so that's awesome. So because to me, like, it's always a question, and the customers always ask the same question. How do we expose ECC? How do we expose S4? How do we take advantage of this digital core that we maintain, we pay a lot of money for, and that's where our business runs? How can we innovate at the edge with SAP Cloud Platform? And this is a perfect example of how, within 25 minutes, we've got a conversational AI chatbot conversing essentially with SAP, which is amazing. Okay, that's pretty cool. One thing I did want to ask you about though, Sai, is I noticed there's a debug option at the top. So, this scenario ran through, it was pretty easy, but when a user wants to debug and make sure that everything they're doing is, kind of flowing the way that it works, is that how we would make use of this debug option up here?
Yeah, it's actually very, very simple. So let's just turn on the debug.
Okay.
Clear out the chat. And we'll turn on the logs on the debug.
Okay.
And let's just go through the entire script one more time, and you'll be able to see for yourself.
All right. Hello. Okay, so I can see that it sends a message. Okay.
So yeah, those triggers the greeting intent, and then the greeting intent triggers the get name intent, as you can clearly see. And that's why it's asking you for your name.
Very cool. What would you like to do today? Okay, so get name, send quick reply. So basically it's giving us a breakdown of what it's doing, and then I could say open orders, and then we should see it triggering the open orders as well. Yeah, there's the get orders. Very nice. So that gives us definitely some good insight there. And then the other thing that I noticed, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, there's also this test tab that we have as well, right? So I was playing around a little bit with that just to kind of see what it does. So if I type in open orders here, then it kind of flags us and kind of says, okay, yeah, it's basically testing to see which, this goes back right to the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about the key pieces of, the puzzle for conversational AI. And one of them is intents. And the other big one for me is the expressions, because the expression that you type in has to lead you to the right intent. And so you can see in this case, I type in orders and boom, right away, it goes to ask open orders and it flags the entity, which is pretty nice to see that.
Yeah. This is a great way to test out your intents when you're building them out so that your expressions are directing you in the right phase, as Scott said.
Okay, so last thing, sorry, we got 6 minutes here, so we're right on time. So the question now becomes, of course, I want to take this chatbot. It's not much use if I can't put it somewhere, right? So how do I take the chatbot that we've now built, this amazing chatbot, take it and embed it into like a standard HTML page or, Facebook or Twitter or something like that? How do I take it and reuse it?
Yeah, you can connect your chatbot to almost anything. So we will go into the Connect tab. There's already predefined channels like Facebook Messenger. If you scroll down, there's a slew of options for you to integrate directly. But if you have an application that you want to integrate your chatbot with, then the best way to go about it would be through web chat.
Okay. Great.
Essentially, it'll give you a small piece of script, and we'll see that right now.
Okay, let's go. Scott's awesome channel. Okay, Scott's channel. And I just say create here now?
Yeah, you can customize it if you'd like to with change color scheme, change emblem, but otherwise you can just create it and you'll be ready to go.
Okay, just in the interest of time, I will not, because we're going to run out of time here quickly. So basically what it's done is it's generated a little bit of script for me. And then what happens now? Because I did notice, like as an example on the internet, I was doing some poking around, and already people are out there writing blogs on how to integrate, conversational AI with, UI5 applications or portals you may have built. So I guess I'm just going to take this script and prior to this, I created, and I posted this on Twitter. Please don't judge me on my HTML skills, which are extremely weak. But I basically have a small little hello world page here. I put in these, five lines. I'm going to save that. And then if I open up script, should be something. And voila, right off the bat, we've got our little web page, and then after about 3 seconds, it prompts me. So if I click on this and I say hi, we should see the same flow that we just built.
Yep.
Yeah, what would you like to do today? Well, open orders, of course. I want to see my open orders. Wow, so that's pretty cool. So that's pretty easy. So I just basically take the script, embed it into an existing web page, a new web page, a UI5 page, or Twitter or Facebook, whatever, and all of a sudden I've got a reusable chatbot that can take place as part of or be used in many channels, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so let's quickly wrap it up here. We got 3 or 4 minutes. We're right on time. I'm going to stop sharing. We always do one little poll question. As people know, we don't actively contact people after these sessions unless you want us to. So there's a little poll here. If you want us to contact you or you want to have a conversation, a deeper conversation, because today we're just scratching the surface, just answer yes. We will reach out. And then, so a recap, Si. So let's just do a quick summary. So from scratch today, in the course of about 30 minutes, we logged into the Conversational AI page. We were able to create a chatbot. We brought in 2 skills that were already in use. So we were able to show how skills are reusable, can be shared amongst many chatbots. We took that, we forked one of the other pieces of the reusable content, and we added to it because we didn't want to start from scratch. We took that, we added to it, we bundled it up, and then we also used a webhook that could then be used to reach into SAP or, in fact, any backend that provides a service. And the key thing there being, as long as we have it in the format that the chatbot can understand, we can bring that back and then incorporate that into the chatbot as well. So you really truly have the natural language processing piece doing the interpretation, and then we also have the connectivity to the backend as well. Would that be a good summary?
Yeah, it's a very end-to-end solution.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Okay, so Si, any parting comments before I click the end webcast here and we call it a day from Las Vegas?
Well, not really, but I'd like to add that there's great features coming out in the roadmap. So even connecting with your backend systems is going to be easier down the line. But with that, I'd like to hand it back over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Si, for coming out. And thanks, everybody, for coming out and attending this garage session. I look forward to seeing you on the next one, which is coming up with Gunther Rothmal. And we'll be talking about all the new announcements here at TechEd Vegas and anything that's come out in Barcelona as well. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.